Before history had a name, before the first word was ever spoken, our world was governed by a single, unwavering tyrant, the night. In the daylight hours, our distant ancestors, the first hominids to walk upright, could see the horizon. They could identify threats, find sustenance, and navigate a world teeming with life. But when the sun bled out across the plains, reality itself transformed. Darkness was not merely the absence of light. It was a living entity, a predator with 1,000 unseen eyes. It was a physical presence, cold and suffocating, that descended upon the savannah each evening. To be caught in its embrace was to be erased from existence, to become another ghost in a world ruled by nightmares. The great predators, the saber-tooth, the giant hyena, they owned the night. Their eyes, adapted for the gloom, could see where ours could not. Their senses could pinpoint the location of a small, warm-blooded creature huddled in fear. For generations upon generations, the night was not ours. We were merely its unwilling subjects. Imagine their existence, a life lived in the shadows of caves or perched precariously in the branches of acacia trees. Every sunset was a retreat, a surrender. The family unit, the very crucible of our species, would draw together not just for comfort, but for the simple, desperate mathematics of survival. More eyes, more ears, a slightly better chance that one of them would hear the snap of a twig in time. They would listen. They would listen to the symphony of terror that the night conducted. The low growl of a predator on the prowl, the panicked cry of a distant herbivore, the chilling silence that fell just before an attack. This was the soundtrack of their lives. Sleep was not a rest, but a temporary surrender to a world they could not control, a state of profound vulnerability from which they might never awaken. Their world was defined by a harsh boundary of light and dark. The day was for living, the night was for enduring. This single, relentless cycle shaped their minds, their bodies, and their societies. It bred a deep, primal fear into our very DNA, a fear of the dark that lingers in our subconscious even today. But fear, when sharpened by desperation, can become the mother of invention. And in the heart of one tribe, huddled against the biting cold, a new kind of courage was being born, not of muscle, but of mind. The world was full of wonders and terrors that descended from the sky, the life-giving sun, the cleansing rain, the destructive lightning. For millennia, these were forces to be worshipped or feared, but never controlled. They were the actions of gods, beyond the reach of mortal hands. But one day, a piece of that divine fire fell to earth. Perhaps it was a lightning strike, a spear of pure energy that set a dead tree ablaze. The tribe would have watched from a distance, their innate fear of the fire battling with a new, powerful curiosity. They would have felt its warmth, a welcome respite from the chilling wind. They would have seen how the other animals, even the great predators, kept their distance, respecting the power of the dancing light. This was the moment of revelation, the realization that this celestial power, this fallen star, could be approached. It required a new kind of bravery, not the bravery of the hunt, but the courage to overcome a deep, primal instinct. One individual, perhaps driven by desperation or a spark of unparalleled genius, would have made the first move. To take a burning branch, to feel its heat, to understand that this force could be carried, that it could be tamed. They captured a fallen star, a piece of the sun itself. This act was as significant as the first tool ever fashioned. They brought the fire back to their shelter, and in doing so, they redrew the map of their existence. They learned its language of hunger and warmth. They learned that it needed to be fed, that it would consume wood and dry grass to stay alive. They learned that it would die if neglected, In caring for the flame, they took their first step from being subjects of nature to becoming its partners. The first fire was more than a tool, it was a declaration. It created a bubble of warmth and light in a world that had only known cold and dark. The night was no longer an impenetrable wall of terror. The fire pushed it back, creating a sanctuary, a sacred circle, where the family could gather in safety. The eyes of the predators still watched from the edge of the darkness, but now they hesitated. They were confronted with a power they did not understand, a light that defied the natural order of the night. And for the first time, we became the thing that monsters feared. The fire was a weapon, the first true equalizer. A waving torch could turn the hunter into the hunted, making a saber-tooth think twice. It was a shield that allowed our ancestors to descend from the trees and claim the ground, to sleep in caves with a newfound sense of security. But its gifts were more than just protection. The fire changed everything. It unlocked new sources of food, cooking meat to make it easier to digest and safer to eat, providing the essential proteins that would fuel the growth of a larger, more complex brain. It became the heart of the community. Around its flickering light, stories could be told, knowledge could be shared, and social bonds could be strengthened. It was the first true home humanity ever knew, a circle of light in an endless dark. That single, captured flame was the beginning of a chain reaction that would eventually reshape the entire planet. From that first, humble campfire grew the forge of the blacksmith, the engine of the Industrial Revolution, the heart of the nuclear reactor, and the fiery plume of the rocket that would one day carry us back to the stars from whence that first spark came. Every city that glows in the night is a descendant of that first circle of light. Every discovery made possible by our technology owes its existence to the moment our ancestors overcame their fear and reached into the flames. The taming of fire was the taming of our own limitations. It was the moment we stopped being merely creatures of the earth and started our journey to becoming its shapers, its guardians, and perhaps its greatest danger. The legacy of that first fire is a dual one. It gave us the power to build civilizations and the power to destroy them. It illuminated our world, but also cast long shadows. As we stand now, bathed in the artificial light of a world they could have never imagined, we are forever indebted to those first, brave souls, the ones who, huddled in the cold and the dark, looked at a burning tree not with terror, but with a revolutionary thought: what if?